The young and the restless spoilers shocked the moment Martin stood before the packed hearing room and uttered the words, "I am the architect of these crimes." A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras flashed, and even the seasoned detectives exchanged stunned glances. But as the echo of his confession faded, one question thundered louder than all the rest: where are his victims? In the charged silence that followed, Martin's dark eyes glinted with perverse satisfaction. He knew exactly how to seize the room's attention, and to break every heart present. "You want to know where they are," he said softly, his voice carrying both menace and mockery. "Very well. I'll tell you what I know, for a price." Across town, in the cramped but cozy living room of the Abbott estate, Tracy sat rigidly on the edge of the sofa, her trembling hand clutching a framed photograph of Alan. She had been inconsolable ever since Martin's escape from Genoa City's maximum security transport. But now, as the televised hearing played out on the big screen, her tears flowed freely for an unexpected reason. Martin had just admitted that his brother Alan Abbott was still alive. Her sobs choked on a mixture of relief and terror. For years, the world had believed Alan dead, the brilliant physician whose groundbreaking research had threatened some very dangerous people, only to vanish without a trace. Rumors swirled that he'd perished in a lab explosion, or that he'd been silenced to protect corporate interests. Tracy had mourned him like a sister, but in the deepest recesses of her heart she had never fully let go of hope. Now that hope flickered back to life, but with it came a new dread. If Martin's revelation was true, then Alan was somewhere out there, alive but at the mercy of a man whose cruelty knew no bounds. And if Martin was free? Meanwhile, Chance Chancellor, Alan's nephew and one of Genoa City's most principled young attorneys, watched the same broadcast from his downtown office. His normally steady jaw clenched as Martin laid out the terms of his unholy bargain. The room on the screen seemed to shrink around Martin's measured calm, his gloved fingers tapped against the podium like the metronome of impending doom. "I've escaped your pathetic grasp once," Martin announced, voice low and confident. "And I will slip through your fingers again, unless you agree to my conditions." He paused, letting the weight of that threat settle over everyone present. "After I reach Paris, I will contact you with the precise coordinates of my holding cell, the place where I've kept Alan Abbott alive these past months. You will rescue him, or you will leave him to die of starvation and neglect. If you imprison me here, I guarantee you will never see Alan again." A collective gasp echoed through the courtroom. Detective McAllister, who had spent months piecing together Martin's network of accomplices, slumped in his chair, white-knuckled. The prospect of letting a confessed kidnapper walk free, just to save one man, felt like a moral abyss. Chance's face darkened. His gut told him that Martin was playing them, that Alan's captivity might be a ruse, a grand illusion to secure his freedom. Yet every instinct in him screamed that he had to believe Martin, had to risk everything on this one chance to save his uncle. He felt the weight of history bearing down, the legacy of the Abbott family's dedication to healing and service, now entwined with this impossible choice. Tracy's tears blurred her vision as she heard Martin's words repeated on the TV. She thought of the real Alan, compassionate, brilliant, devoted to saving lives. He would never ask for such a ransom. But then again, he had no choice. If Martin's version was true, Alan was alive only because Martin wanted to keep him as leverage. The thought was sickening. Across the city, Phyllis Summers paced her penthouse suite, phone clutched to her ear. "I don't trust him," she hissed to Jack, who listened in grim silence. "Martin is a master manipulator. Of course he's alive, he wouldn't give us that satisfaction. But he could be lying about Alan just to sow chaos. We can't let him walk free. We can't trust any word he says." Jack rubbed his temples. The decision loomed like a guillotine blade: sacrifice justice to save one innocent, or uphold the law and condemn Alan to an uncertain fate. Neither choice felt right. "We need proof," he said finally. Martin said he'd send a photograph. "We need forensics on that image, metadata, geotags, anything that confirms it's real." Then we'll know whether he's bargaining in good faith or simply to delay us while he disappears. Martin, however, was always 2 steps ahead. From a safe house deep in the French countryside, he carefully composed the email with the promised photo attachment. It showed Alan, gaunt but unmistakably alive, bound in a dimly lit cellar, eyes burning with a mixture of defiance and despair. Behind him, a crude message scrawled on the wall, "Freedom for one, justice for none." Back in Genoa City, the photograph hit the inboxes of every key player at once: Jack, Phyllis, Chance, even the police chief. Tracy let out a sob of relief, but it was short-lived. Chance, scrutinizing the image on his laptop, frowned. "The lighting is off," he muttered. "And there are no visible landmarks. This could be any underground cell anywhere in the world." "But the man is Alan," Tracy whispered, voice cracking. "I know him." Chance closed his eyes, torn. "I want to believe you. I want to believe him. But if this is a lie, if Martin has used some other captive or a composite to trick us, then letting him go will only make him stronger. We'll never see justice served." Phyllis, watching the debate unfold via video link, slammed her hand on the table. "We don't have time for more doubts. If Alan dies because we hesitated, we'll never forgive ourselves. And neither will the public." She turned to Jack. "Make the call. If we delay, we lose him forever." Jack took a deep breath and dialed the district attorney's office. "We have to negotiate," he said quietly into the phone. "I'm willing to propose a temporary suspension of the extradition request, on the condition that Martin provide verifiable proof of Alan's location, and that he surrender himself immediately after. We'll arrange for a French judicial liaison to oversee the transfer." As the line went silent, Jack's heart pounded. This was it, the moment of decision. If the DA agreed, Martin would be free to flee to Paris, potentially vanishing again, and Alan's fate would hang on a tenuous promise. If they refused, Alan's life could end in that cell, slowly and alone. Tracy's tear-streaked face pressed against the television screen, as if she could will the image of her brother to safety. Chance hovered behind Jack, ready to step in if the negotiations collapsed. Phyllis's steely resolve anchored them all. And somewhere in the darkness of rural France, Martin smiled. His plan was unfolding perfectly. The city of Genoa was paralyzed by the choice he'd forced upon them. Whether they chose compassion or justice, he would emerge victorious, because in his world, there was no such thing as a lose-lose. There was only survival, power, and the knowledge that every move his adversaries made was one he had already anticipated. The clock ticked on, each second drawing them closer to the brink. In the end, the fate of Alan Abbott and the soul of Genoa City would be decided not by law or morality, but by the cunning of a man who had turned the most basic human instinct, compassion, into his deadliest weapon. Martin lifted his phone and swiped through a series of encrypted apps before tapping on one labeled SecureCam. The courtroom TV screens flickered, then went black. A hush fell over everyone present. When the feed returned, it was as if a cold, metal door had creaked open. There was Alan Abbott, gaunt but alert, seated on a thin mattress in a cramped, concrete-walled cell. A single bare bulb swung overhead, casting stark shadows on the damp floor. Despite his confinement, Alan sat upright, eyes fixed on the camera with a quiet determination that spoke volumes. Tracy, watching from her living room with Chance and Phyllis on video link, gasped and pressed her hand to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes, and she could no longer hold them back. Her body shook with sobs as she whispered, "He's alive, he's really alive." The sight of her brother, weak but unbroken, sent a fresh wave of anguish coursing through her. Every memory of Alan's kindness, his gentle laugh, his unwavering compassion for patients in the Abbott Clinic, flooded back. She saw not a captive but the man she loved and missed, and her heart ached for his freedom. Martin watched the screen impassively, as though he were merely showing off a prized possession. "Notice his condition," he said, voice calm and measured. "He's eating, breathing, staying strong, because he knows rescue is coming. I make sure he's kept alive." That's part of the bargain. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Detective McAllister leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the grainy footage. "We need to verify this location," he said into his mic. "Coordinate with French authorities, get the metadata from this feed. If Martin's bluffing, we need to catch him." But Martin anticipated that too. With a flick of his thumb, he switched off the feed. The screen went dark, replaced by his own face once more. "You'll get no more for now," he warned. "Make your choice. Free me and you get Alan's coordinates. Imprison me, and he starves." Then he slipped the phone back into his jacket pocket, his smirk visible even through the courthouse cameras. Outside the hearing room, Jack, Phyllis, Chance, and Tracy huddled around a single monitor, their faces etched with desperation. "He's using Alan as a talisman," Chance said grimly. "Like Jordan did with Sharon, keeping her alive only so she'd be worth more as a bargaining chip." He rubbed his forehead. "We can't let him win." Phyllis's eyes blazed with fury. "He's a monster," she spat. "But monsters can be outwitted. We'll find Alan. We'll trace that feed. Even if Martin wipes the metadata, there are patterns, bandwidth usage, cell tower pings, server logs. We'll get something." She turned to Tracy. "You're the only one who knows Alan's mannerisms, his routines. Use that. Tell the tech team what to look for in his behavior, how he sits, what he does when he thinks no one's watching. Those clues could narrow down the region." Tracy nodded through her tears. "He always folds his hands the same way when he's praying," she said. "And he hums that old hymn, 'Be Thou My Vision.' If we can catch the audio, we'll know it's him." She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "I'll do whatever it takes." Jack exhaled slowly. "All right. We'll split up tasks. Chance, work with the DA and French prosecutors to negotiate a provisional release, just long enough for a covert rescue mission. Phyllis, coordinate the technical forensics team. Tracy, help them with Alan's personal details. I'll handle the public front, keep the pressure on Martin in the media so he can't slip away unnoticed." As they set their plan in motion, a chilling thought settled over them: Martin may not be truthful about Alan's location once he's free. He could lead them on a wild goose chase across Europe, then vanish, leaving Alan's fate to a cruel, unknown end. They had to move fast. Meanwhile, Martin slipped out of Genoa City under the cover of darkness. He had arranged for a private jet to depart from a small airstrip near the Italian border. As the plane lifted off, he sat in the dim cabin, reviewing his escape strategy. He knew the authorities would be watching major airports, but this little field, used mostly by crop-dusting pilots, offered minimal scrutiny. He tapped the screen of his secure laptop and watched the encrypted GPS feed blink to life. Operation Spectre, his meticulously crafted plan, was unfolding perfectly. Step 1, reach Paris undetected. Step 2, transmit Alan's coordinates in small, staggered data packets to avoid detection by traffic analysis. Step 3, vanish into the city's labyrinthine catacombs, where he had prearranged safe houses. From there, he would broker his final demand, total immunity in exchange for Alan's release. But Martin knew that trust was the ultimate weapon. He would have to demonstrate enough good faith to keep his adversaries on the hook, yet maintain just enough deception to ensure they never truly had the upper hand. He would leak a partial coordinate, say, a grid square in rural Burgundy, enough to send a rescue team in circles, buying him time. Then, once he had confirmation of their departure, he would upload the real location to a dead-drop server accessible only after his full escape. Back in Genoa City, Jack's phone buzzed. It was the DA's office. "We can propose the provisional release. French prosecutors want proof of location first." Jack's heart sank. They needed a convincing show of good faith from Martin, proof he was telling the truth beyond the photograph. Chance closed his laptop with a decisive snap. "Then we ask for a live stream of Alan, direct, unedited, with multiple camera angles. And we'll demand the presence of a neutral observer, say, a Red Cross delegate or a local human rights monitor. If Martin balks, we'll know he's bluffing. Phyllis nodded. That's our leverage. No live stream, no deal. And we give him a 12-hour window. After that, the DA will revoke any offer. If Alan dies, it's on Martin's head. Tracy bit her lip. But if we push too hard, Martin might kill Alan out of spite. Her voice trembled. I don't want to lose him again. Jack reached across the table and took her hand. We'll do this carefully. We'll save Alan, and we'll bring Martin to justice. He won't get away with it. As the clock ticked toward Martin's 12-hour deadline, Genoa City held its breath. In one corner, a desperate family marshaled every resource to rescue a beloved man from a fiendish captor. In another, a cunning criminal plotted his next move, confident that he had already calculated their every reaction. Between them hung the fragile life of Alan Abbott, and the slim hope that compassion and perseverance could triumph over cruelty and deceit. In the end, it would come down to one final confrontation: Martin's willingness to risk everything on a promise, and Genoa City's resolve to call his bluff. The world watched, hearts pounding, as the line between salvation and tragedy blurred into a single, desperate moment of truth.